All right, folks, let's finish up Chapter 7. This time, let's talk more specifically about creating value. A couple rules that you want to keep in mind in terms of creating value for the product that you're selling. First off, create value before mentioning price and before negotiating. Because if you don't do that, then you've not set a sense of what your product or service is worth. A salesperson's most important job is to create value for their product, to create a positive, differentiated perception and image of their product in the minds of their prospects and of their customers. Make it apparent to them that the thing that you are offering has some worth to it. Secondly, selling media as if what you are selling is a commodity does not create value. Keep in mind what a commodity is. It's something that there's plentiful supply of, and the only real differentiation is that of price. You want to create value for your product by differentiating it with insights and solutions. And when you implement those things, you're going to get results for your customers. It's also going to create a positive return on investment, or ROI. So make it so that they don't see your advertising packages as just other advertising packages, and they're the same from, say, for example, you're in radios, the same for radio station to radio station or radio station, or even worse, it's different from platform to platform to platform, different types of media. Rule number 3, creating value enhances your credibility and it builds trust. You display your expertise and you show that you understand the needs of your customers. You're offering something that shows that your knowledge, your skills in the thing that you're selling will make it in the mind of that you're explaining this to, the sense that not only is the product worthy of their consideration, but that you yourself are worthy of their consideration. And then finally, creating value helps you control your customers' expectations. Part of creating value is creating realistic value in the minds of customers. The lower the expectations that your client has, the more pleased they will be with their results as they define results. And that's important. You need to know what their standards are. Hopefully, you're doing something in such a way that you help them set that standard for what they expect from you. But nevertheless, whatever their standard is, you need to not only meet it, but exceed it. So, in a sense, you want to try to set the bar low, but that once you achieve that, you don't just quit. You continue providing excellent service for your clients. Now, we've been talking about value here quite a bit. Let's talk about what it means. And in this case, we're going to talk about perceived value. That is the value that your customer, your client has in their mind as to what your particular product or service is worth. And there's this equation that's in the textbook. It's not really a mathematical equation in that you can't plug in numbers and come with a defined result, but it's more the sense that you want to create something in which there is perceived quality and results and service for the thing that you're offering, and all of that in the numerator has to be worth the price in the denominator. So think of this as a ratio. If that number on the top is much higher in the mind of the customer than the number for the price, then that is a good ratio for them. It's a number higher than 1. If they consider the price to be too much compared to quality, results, and service, then they're going to feel cheated. That fractional number is going to be less than 1, and that's not going to make them happy. They're going to feel like they didn't get a good return on investment for what they had spent. So let's talk about these items in particular. First, quality. Perceptions of quality are defined by several attributes of a medium. The more attributes that a medium and its salespeople can promote to create a perception of quality, being brand safe, and having desirable demographics, the higher the site's perceived quality is, and the higher prices the site can charge for each impression, whether it's purchased programmatically or done direct from a salesperson. It's a very lofty way of saying that you want to offer the highest quality, you want to offer the best possible product that you can, so that if a customer feels like they might be paying a little more for it, they at least are buying something that they believe is worthy, that there's strength to the item that they are buying. Secondly, results. Results in a media context means, does advertising in that medium get an acceptable return of investment, and does it get results as defined by the customer? So, does the advertising meet the goals that the client has? Now, customer-defined results vary a great deal by media and by customer. By understanding a customer's definition of results, salespeople can demonstrate how their medium in general and their specific media outlet can improve those results. So you think of this in a sense that whatever the results that a client wants, that is the overarching goal. And you think about this just like any other sort of goal and objective setting. Create action steps. Make sure that those action steps are taken care of using the MAD-CUD system or the SMART system in approaching different tasks and objectives, and make sure that those things are getting met. And again, it's the customer that decides whether you've done that or not. Service, account management, and customer success. With many products, especially those that are either highly undifferentiated or intangible, customers consider service to be the most important differentiator because there isn't something that they can taste, touch, smell, see. So there's not an objective sense as to whether they're getting their money's worth. It's all going to be perceived. And when you provide service, there is a higher level of perceivement that even if the customer isn't completely satisfied with the actual thing that they bought, they will be attentive to the fact that you are very responsive to them and their needs, and that you're doing what you can to address concerns, to solve issues, to answer their questions in a timely manner, all those things in terms of good service. Now, again, value is a perception. Every person or potential buyer places a different weight on all of those different things that we've talked about: quality, results, service. So they're going to have a different definition on the value of that mix. That's why this is not a mathematical equation that I showed you earlier. You can't say that it's a certain percentage of quality, a certain percentage of service, and on, and that there's a certain number value that we accept as the standard, other than the fact that we want that numerator of the quality, results, and service to be higher in the mind of the customer than the price value in the denominator of that fraction. So the price people will pay for a product is a result of their unique solution to that perceived value formula. So it is, again, very subjective. It's going to be different from customer to customer to customer. And it helps if you can try to determine to the best of your ability what that standard is that the customer has. So here's an incomplete list of various value signals. There's several here. We could probably add many, many others. But some of the things that people are going to consider: the company image and reputation. How well is your company regarded? Do they trust the company? Do they trust the particular media outlet in your particular market, in your particular community? Ethical practices. Are they known for doing things in a honest and right manner? awards and prizes that the media outlet has earned. What sort of accolades rather, has your particular company received? The content that your media outlet puts out, is it right for that business's audience? So we're dealing with content in and of itself. Some people may have objections to certain types of content for the content, but there's also the fact that they're trying to reach a target audience, and that target audience is going to consume certain types of content. Insights for advertisers on their businesses. If you are able to provide them information that can help them in their business, regardless of the advertising, that's going to create value for a client. Sales promotional materials, things like media kits, other promotional items that you are able to provide to a client that talks about what your TV station, your radio station, your online platform, what it's doing, and with that, ways that it's targeting different audiences, ways it's purporting certain types of content, talking about all those things. Maybe certain aspects of community service if the client is civically minded. Those things can be important to a possible client. Continuity, the longevity of a media outlet or its personnel. How long has the company been around? How long have the people working there been around? There's a sense that if a company, if a staff member has staying power and lasting power, they must know what they're doing because they've been around for so long. Advertisers. Now, this one can be interesting because it's that idea of you being known by the company you keep. So what other sorts of advertisers are patronizing your media outlet? And are those companies that this particular company wants to be seen in the same light as? Or sometimes maybe it's a direct competitor of them, and maybe they'd like to go head-to-head with them. There's lots of different ways the advertiser angle can play out. Audience or user quality and quantity. So this is, again, where ratings and demographics come into play, the various numbers and data. Price. The higher the price of a product, the higher the perceived value. So, sometimes it's not just about price in terms of getting the best bang for the buck. Sometimes it's about that value equation. And if they see that the cost for advertising services is at a premium, then it could create in the mind of the advertiser that they're buying something that is actually a real investment and can create some real results for them. Management as a value signal. The reputation of the management, the visibility of the management, both within the company, outside the company, within the community, if they trust your bosses. Production values, the quality of the content you provide for them. So the actual ad that you produce for them, is it something that they're going to be proud of when it is displayed in print, on the air, online, whatever the case may be? Does it look good? Does it sound good? Does it convey the message that they want to convey? Sales presentations, making a product tangible adds value. So when you pass out media kits, when you pass out sales proposals, when you provide research to a client in terms of charts and graphs and data, those things to make that intangible item of advertising a little more tangible. The salespeople themselves, because they are, after all, the surrogate for the product. They represent the product. They represent the company. So salespeople need to have a certain presence about themselves in order to appeal to a prospective client. And finally, creative approaches to ad campaigns. We talked about a little of this already in terms of the advertising itself, but sometimes there's a need for not just one ad at a time, but perhaps there's a campaign for a certain emphasis or a certain project that a client is looking to do, something that could last over the period of 3 months, 6 months, a year, maybe even longer. how are you going to tackle helping them to promote that over the course of time? Now, how do we position value? Positioning is creating a unique perception of your product to have a differential competitive advantage in the mind of your customers. Some people call this the unique selling position, the USP. Basically, it's that idea of what differentiates you, what makes you distinct and different than your competition or someone else that provides a similar product or service. A competitor's image is as important as your own image, if not more so, because you are positioning your product against the image of your competitor's medium and product. Think about it in terms of fast food. You open up a hamburger joint. What's going to make people come to you instead of going to McDonald's? And lots of people have different thoughts about McDonald's in their mind. Cheap food, fast food. Depending on the McDonald's they go to, they could have bad customer service experiences, or the food tastes horrible, or it comes out cold, or whatever. Can you position yourself as, here's how we're different from McDonald's? So knowing what your competition's all about, what their reputation is. Now, sometimes you have to fight that in terms of the fast food industry as a whole and think about that. But many times it's just thinking about what your competition's up to and what you can do to differentiate yourself. If you position properly, you can accomplish two things. You can position your product to have an advantage. Again, in the example, why your burgers are better than McDonald's. You can also position your competitors' products to have a disadvantage. Your burgers are all beef and McDonald's are whatever they are. So think about the pros that you offer and some of the cons that the competition offers. So, the process of positioning. What position, if any, does my product already occupy in the mind of my customer? What's the reputation out there? What are people saying? What are people thinking? Get to know that. Many times when we talk about sales cycles and imaging cycles, we call this the listening stage. So, talk to people out and about in the community, maybe find out what the buzz is on social media, follow news reports, find out what people are saying, and then ask yourself, what position do you want to occupy? When you answer that question, your answer must be unique and concise. You don't want this lofty essay about how you're different or how you're better. It needs to be succinct. It needs to be to the point. It has to have an easily definable and differential competitive advantage that clearly makes a difference. So you say it clearly, concisely, in a way people can digest and understand, and then make a judgment on once they have received that positioning statement. Now, we've talked about the two types of selling, missionary selling and service selling. You can create value in both types. In missionary selling, creating value comes by generating actionable insights and solutions to marketing problems and creating arresting, informative presentations and proposals. So in all the things that you're doing to promote your product or service to the potential advertiser, you're providing all this information. You are listening to the client, hearing what their goals are, providing ways to help them to be able to achieve those goals. In service selling, creating value comes by generating actionable insights, by creating arresting, informative presentations that address the criteria set forth in a request for proposal or in a creative brief, and then by giving outrageously excellent service. So keep in mind that in service selling, they're already advertisers. They've already bought a campaign in the past. So you're continuing the process of checking in with them during that campaign, showing them the ways that the advertising has been effective, answering questions, solving problems, and in the midst of that, keeping all of that stuff on file so that when it comes time for the advertiser to renew, you have all that information, and you also have that history of dealing with that customer in a way that shows that they are valuable. So, let's take a look now at 5 steps for creating value. Before we get into them, keep in mind that many media organizations will have what's called a general presentation, or a GP. This is an introduction to their product that reinforces the product's history, their reputation, the combination of advantages and benefits. Many times this will show up, at least in radio and television, in what's called a media kit. It will showcase all the different programming that a station offers. It will show different ways that they've had results with their target audience. There might be testimonials from various advertisers from the past. All sorts of things in there that are going to highlight the station as a whole. And then, after that's presented to a advertising client, if they're intrigued by it, then you can go into helping them think about their own particular needs. So let's take a look at these 5 steps. Step 1, reinforce your expertise as an insight provider and a problem solver. Show your broad-based knowledge of national and international economic and business trends in your market, economic and business trends in the media and in your medium in particular, and then also economic and business trends in your customer's business. So you have to be pretty knowledgeable about what's going on in the world of business, both in your industry and in the industry of your client. Make sure that you showcase those things. That adds credibility to you in the mind of the client, that you know what you're talking about. Step number 1, continued. Some other ways to demonstrate your knowledge of marketing. Do it by showing goals and strategies and tactics, not only of your customers and their competitors, but also of your competitors. If you're working for the NBC affiliate, make sure you know to the best of your ability what the CBS affiliate is doing. And, again, that aspect of creating that differentiation between the two of you, that's going to be powerful. If you're dealing with a certain type of industry, research ways that competitors have marketed themselves in that particular product or service. Bring that knowledge with you to either emulate certain aspects of ideas or create new ones based on the results of what the competition did. Finally, provide your customers with the latest research in a concise, summarized, easy-to-read format. It's the KISS method. Keep it simply simple. So you want to provide the data, but you want to make sure that it's very easy to read, easy to follow. Charts, graphs, bullet points, all those things are very easy to digest. When you're talking about those things, make sure that you talk about them in a clear and understandable and intelligible sort of way. Now, step 2, reinforce the value of advertising. The difference between advertising and promotion, we need to talk about that. Advertising tells consumers why to buy a product, and it has long-lasting effects in creating brand value. Meanwhile, promotion tells customers when to buy a product and only has short-term effects, which do not build brand value. So with this mindset, advertising is a campaign that talks about certain items of interest to a consumer that if they didn't have any other reason to buy a product, that they're actually genuinely interested in something like what you're offering, that you're able to make your case, state your arguments as to why they should go with you. Meanwhile, promotion is more about, okay, we have this thing and we're doing this emphasis. We want you to come and buy this thing. Maybe there's a sale on it. Maybe there's some sort of an offer or a limited time sort of emphasis on it, for whatever the case may be. It doesn't as much talk about the product itself and why someone should buy the product. You can take a look at some of the different problems with promotions in your textbook. But the big thing to know is that there is a difference. If someone knows of a product, they know what it is, they know its value, offering a promotion might be enticing for someone that might already have some semblance of interest in that product. But advertising tells people about the product and, again, states the case for why them and not somebody else. Step 3, reinforce the value of your medium. When you're doing this with current advertisers, a couple of things here. At yearly renewal times, or maybe halfway through the year, make a stewardship presentation that shows the advertising that an advertiser has ran during the previous year and what results they got. And remind them of the excellent service that they received from you. So this is a chance to recap the things that have been done. So in month number 1, you ran this ad. In month number 2, you ran that ad. And we've seen this sort of response from our viewers, our listeners, our consumers, and here's our analysis of what that means. Ask advertisers for testimonial letters, or better, to participate in a case study. So for your clients that have seen the value of advertising with your company, ask them to talk about why they were pleased with what you've done, and get them to share. That can be huge in terms of building credibility with new clients. And invite advertisers to your industry's trade association presentations. It's the job of these associations to sell the value of their media, and they do it very well. The Radio Advertising Bureau, in particular, is very good at showcasing the value of radio advertising, gives stations tools to help them to promote their particular brand, also has great campaigns for the general public to talk about the advantages of advertising and shares success stories on behalf of the industry. Also, make presentations to advertising agencies, especially to media planners, on the value of your medium. This is especially true if you're in a medium that is not television, because remember, we talked in a past chapter about the fact that advertising agencies love television because it's kind of one-stop shopping. They can do the campaign there, spend a bunch of money, get their commission, be on their way. But talk about why particular clients might benefit from the kind of content that you have on your radio station, on your online platform, in your print publication, whatever it is that you're representing, and how perhaps, depending on that target audience, that your medium could be even more powerful for that particular client to their particular target audience, because target audiences tend to consume and appreciate content in different ways. So, if you have if you have customers as a business that prefer to read things as opposed to being more visual, then perhaps television is not going to be the best thing for them. Reinforcing the value of your medium to both agencies and clients is an attempt to get them to invest more dollars in your medium as a whole, and then into your media outlet in particular. So you're kind of an evangelist, not just for your particular company, but for your entire industry. Step 4, reinforce the value of your product. You want your customers to get the same sense of quality when you talk about your product. One way to create the perception of quality is to repeat the word, to use it in every possible context. Quality, 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 quality. And then after quality comes results. Stress that your medium gets results, and the best way to reinforce this concept is with case studies. You could also group testimonials in here. Show cases where the customer was serviced in such a fantastic way with a successful campaign. Talk about the results of that, the work that went into that. Those things will add value to the particular thing that you are offering. Too often, inexperienced media salespeople sell on the basis of the features of their product, and they don't place enough emphasis on advantages and benefits. So let's talk here about features. Features tend to be descriptive. They're facts and information about your product and its various parts. Now, here's the problem with that. Most customers, most advertising clients, don't really care about the features of a product, what all you can do with the particular platform that you're doing. They don't really care about that. They want one particular question answered. What's in it for me? WIIFM. What's in it for me? What's going to be the end result of what happens here? Am I going to see the results that I'm looking for? They don't need to know the intricacies of the process of putting an ad together, or how, especially online, how they make impact with certain target audience members and things like that. They just want to know if they're going to get results. Now, advantages, on the other hand, are comparative. They describe why the features of your product are better. So this is a case where you might mention a feature, but again, they don't care about the feature in and of itself, but they may be interested to know why that feature is important, why that feature is distinctive compared to something that somebody else offers. Now, benefits. Benefits are reasons why the features and advantages of your product solve customers' problems. They're what you should concentrate on when you're selling, because that is what customers buy. They buy the benefits. Another way to say that is they buy the solutions. In essence, benefits answer that WIIFM question. What's in it for me? What are they going to receive? What are they going to expect? What's going to materialize as a result of them doing business with you? You want to frame your benefits so that they directly address marketing and advertising problems, and how your proposed solutions help customers to get what they want. What's in it for them? Frame your benefits and solutions in such a way that they appeal to customers based on your assessment of their dominant personality traits and corresponding descriptive adjectives. So this is where, some of the things that we've talked about in terms of emotional intelligence, understanding certain people's temperament, their values, some of their personality traits, these things can really come into play when you are describing a benefit to somebody. Appeal to those personality traits when you do so. And you can check out in the textbook the benefits matrix. It can help you to think about some of those things. Now, the most important skill in media selling is being able to subtly frame the benefits of your product according to personality traits without being too obvious. You don't want to make it seem like you're patronizing. Okay? You want to make sure that you value the customer for who he, she is. You want to make sure that you appeal to the customer based on who he, she is. But do it in a way that is genuine, that is sincere, that doesn't come off as you're doing it just for the sake of trying to please somebody in a backhanded sort of way. Understanding their temperament and what their pros and cons, what their likes and dislikes are, very, very important. But do it with integrity and sincerity. Now, a couple of don'ts in creating value. First, don't promise results. Don't guarantee that someone's going to get X number of customers or generate Y dollars in sales as a result of an advertising campaign, because you can't predict the future. So don't set unrealistically high expectations. It's the fastest way to lose credibility, create a furious client, and wind up not getting a renewal contract. Also, you don't want to knock the competition. When you do that, you lower your own image and the image of the medium as a whole. Check out some other reasons that you don't knock the competition in your textbook, but basically, you don't want to be that person that says, buy from us because the other company stinks. Okay? That just doesn't really do well in terms of positioning yourself, because again, that's that sense that people buy advertising for the sake of advertising. Don't assume that they're going to be interested in advertising just because, and they're going to choose you over somebody else. You have to make them interested in the advertising because of the value that your company brings to the table, and that it's better than the competition. But you don't want to knock the competition because it lowers, again, the entire industry. So what do you do when you're asked about the competition? A few things you could try. First, compliment the competition. By complimenting, you boost the image of your own product or medium and come across as a positive, nice person. This is that sense of acknowledging the strengths of your competition. Perhaps being empathetic about some of the struggles that they have that you know of. But you want to do it in a genuine sort of way, in a positive sort of way. Second, talk about your strengths. Don't answer about the competition directly, but answer the question with information about the benefits of your product. Put out your value as opposed to talking about what the competition does or does not do. And then thirdly, you can expose generic weaknesses. Share weaknesses as an industry challenge, not as a specific media outlet's issue. And there's definitely a lot of things out there in the industry that we can talk about that are somewhat of hardships and challenges. And almost any media company can succumb to them. This might be an opportunity for you to talk about how your outlet is trying to overcome some of those challenges that the industry is dealing with. Now, before we close up, I want to point you to page 135 in the textbook, Exhibit 7.8. There's several different tips and tricks for salespeople to use in order to create value for your company, your industry, for your product service. And consider these things, whether or not you think you would be able to use them if you're in a sales presentation situation. And think about maybe which ones might be better with certain types of clients than others, which ones might be better in certain mediums than others. You know, it's not an exhaustive list. It's a pretty hefty list, but there are definitely some things there that I think you should consider. And with that, we're going to close up Chapter 7. Finish the notes, finish the study questions, complete the survey. Bring your thoughts when you come to class. Let's talk about the value of advertising, the value of various media. What are the strengths of television, of radio, of online? The different types of online, video versus podcasting versus blogs versus whatever else. And we can talk about how we would present those to various clients if we're in those situations. And we can talk about anything else you want to talk about too. Bring your thoughts when we get together for class.